to really spend some time today talking to you about how to make elder law and really estate planning much easier. We're going to be talking about how to digitally transform your intake process. And I'm really excited for this because one, I've used this at my office, and I'm excited to share with you the results after having used it for about 6 months to a year now at different levels, and just how exciting it is. Also excited that we're here with Enrico. Enrico is the person who designed this, did it for my firm, and I'm just excited to have him here to share with you directly what he did and why this really matters. So before we get started, though, if you can just type Y in the chat, if you can see me, hear me, please just put Y in that chat so we know that people are able to hear us, see us. You're always picking different microphones and stuff and making sure they work. I'd also ask everybody, close your email, mute your phone, and really get ready for us to talk to you about what I think is transformational to your practice moving forward. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Julie Steinbacher, and I'm the founding shareholder of my law firm, which is in North Central Pennsylvania. I started my firm literally in my garage 20 years ago, and today we have 7 offices across the state of Pennsylvania. We stretch from Altoona to Wilkes-Barre, and we are on track this year to grow $6 million. And so one of the things that I bring to you, I'm also the president of the $1 Million Solution. It's a coaching group for elder law and estate planning attorneys and financial advisors across the U.S. But one of the things that really makes me and my coaching group different is I didn't just read about something. I didn't just go to some event and copy what somebody else is doing. You're really hearing about it from the laboratory. This is stuff that I'm doing in my office, stuff that's making a difference. And, sometimes what we try doesn't work, and we're also happy to share that with you. But for me, my life and my practice changed a few years ago when I met Enrico, and he started talking to me about things that he had done for other firms. And it just really, really was in line with kind of what I'm thinking about, where the future is going, and things that I needed to do in my practice. And honestly, things that we needed to do because we're struggling, automation, we'll talk today, is really about doing things that clients want, making it the experience that they want. But also for so many of us, it's also about, it's so hard today to train, to get new employees. And anytime we can get rid of data entry and duplication, anytime we can systematize, automate something, it's what we need to do for the profitability in our practices. And very rarely do we find something, in my mind, that is like the intake that we're going to talk about today. The intake we're going to talk about today, my staff loved it. Why? Because it made less work for them. So they were happy to implement it. The clients love it. It's a better experience for them. They're asking, we offer different options, and we're going to talk about that. And they want it, and it saves me money. So not very many times do we get to, have those things all together. But I'm going to hand it over to Enrico to talk a little bit about himself and how he came, and to talk about really just how wonderful LegalGen is and what he brings to this conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Julie. Happy to be here. Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'm the founder of LegalGen. LegalGen was my background. I'm a project director at Exedius, which is software IT implementations. With mostly project management in the financial industry. And then I started developing solutions for smaller businesses primarily. And that's really how LegalGen was born. I had a client at the BNI, Carol Buttress, and I was going to do my will with her. And she was talking me through the process and the cost and the time it was going to take. And then we just collaborated. And I was like, for the particular markets, a target market like myself, where you can really have an automated offering that's online, that's digital, and accomplish the same thing. And she loved it. Has still to this day has a couple of users clients that go through the system. She still does what she does, and then she generates this process as well. So when that happened, and I said that there's no conversion, it's an add-on. It helps her make more money, as you mentioned earlier. So I expanded, talked to a few referrals that she provided, and that's how LegalGen expanded. And when we connected and saw the value, so I mean the impact it has on practices, and that they can then have on their end users is just created the passion that I have for LegalGen.
Yeah, and I just love it. And I love that story. Here you are, wanting to get a will for yourself, and you're basically saying to the attorney, like, your system doesn't work for somebody like me. You need to automate to help somebody like me. And just so everything is clear, the system that Enrico was talking about there is a system that I use at my office too, and that's a system in order to get documents done online. It's something like wills and trusts. So at my office, you can call my office, and if you want a really simple will, power of attorney, we have created by Enrico a way for people to go online, kind of do it themselves. We look over the documents, then we have them sign it. That is not what we're talking about today. I just want everybody to know that's not what we're talking about today, but that is also something that my firm has been able to grow with Enrico and add, all kinds of facets to automation. And I was just at a conference at ACTEC up in Toronto, and we're talking a lot about this whole idea of people using willsandtrust.com and those types of things, and obviously a lot of different ideas about that. But the point of it is, Enrico is such a great partner with elder law, small businesses, estate planning firms. And the reason is because for me, he's been able to really understand what I need to do with a client experience. Also, I'm not a techie girl. So he has to kind of make it work for me. I'm used to going into appointments a certain way. I'm used to having certain information, and like, I didn't want to change. I knew we as an office had to change. I still wanted what I wanted. And so I think that's, really important for people to understand. So what you're going to discover today is really just how much I think the elder law and estate business is changing. And that's true of all kinds of different industries out there. But, it's really beyond, I think COVID opened the doors. It's really beyond that. It's really kind of talking about, how automation has so fundamentally changed how we do things. And it's not just whether or not you want to do it, it's really understanding that you may have to do it to stay in the game. And that's because it's really desired by our customers. So, there's great books out there about, what is it that your customer wants? And I will tell you guys right now, I feel like I have a part-time job taking my mom to the doctor. So I love her to death. God love her. She has a lot of issues. And every time you go to the doctor's office, what do? They give you a form to fill out. Seriously, like, you can't automate that, or they mail it to me and I get it the night before I'm, supposed to take her to the doctor. I don't want to do that to my clients. I don't want to be that person. Now, please know, I'm talking with like a broad stroke here. Certainly, we're going to talk about how we changed our intake. And we did that in response to what people want. We also did that in response to how marketing has changed and how you cannot possibly believe that marketing of 20 years ago, where your CPA said, go see your attorney, they called your office, we set an appointment, that intake is the same as I just marketed to somebody on Facebook. And now they've clicked on a link kind of passively. It's different. And so we really need to understand that. But the point here is that this automation is desired by our customers, and it increases our profitability. For me, it has so increased our profitability. And part of it is just not having to add extra staff to be doing these intakes, to get this information, because we offer a phone call. We're going to talk about this later, but we offer a phone call. We offer a form. We also offer a digital intake. And I'm going to say this again, but I'm going to say it here too. I talked to my lead paralegal yesterday, and she said since December, nobody has picked anything but the digital intake for the clients that she's worked with. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And so I really think we want to understand that. Also, we're going to show you how Enrico and the team at Legal Gen is really uniquely qualified to serve you. And really, to be honest with you, we're going to do that by showing you my intake. We're going to show you what I did. And basically, what I did was I gave Enrico my intake, my triage form, and said, here, Enrico, I need this information. And it was him who really had the know-how from a user experience kind of, looking at the user experience of how do you get people to fill this out? This is different than a fillable form online. That's what you're thinking in your head right now. This is very different than that. It's really in my thought, I think about it as more interactive. You open it up and you start to put stuff in it, and it opens up more. It tells you how far you are. You're 10%, 15%. All of that's really, really important. And Enrico, I don't know if you want to comment on, I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but just comment on really the how you guys are uniquely qualified, how you're able to provide something that is really user friendly and not so techie feeling.
Well, there's two ways to answer that, and one way is when you said it was a good fit with my clients, and I'm consistently making improvements. It's my clients. This system is built, and the content, without me having the legal background, but learning from my clients, getting their feedback, getting their input, not boxing in changes, which is what most IT companies will say. You can't make a change, or that's how we build it. But when I was doing that, I was doing it at the context of understanding what the user, like when you mentioned earlier, like with Carol, like I've designed it so that it's easy for the end user, to be on a phone and go to the system and go to the questions. Like, for instance, we have an educational portion to it. So the screens, when they're designed, when we look at it, you have the screens and the answers, during the digital intake. But then on the right hand side, we could have some instructions that you can update on your own anytime. That is going to tell the users what to do when they're confused, or and they need to get some more direction. So that's how that combination with the technical layer on top of providing the content and the workflow and the message for each client is what I think is kind of set us apart. And the other thing that we're doing, is it's the client's product. We call it in the tech world, it's white label, right? It's going to have your brand, your feel, your messages, your language. And I say yours, I mean the attorney's office. And when we generate products, with the online questionnaires you were talking about, we don't generate templates like 99% of all the other systems do. We'll take our clients' templates and map to it. And it's the same concept with the digital intake, so that you're presenting your office digitally, and that's the unique aspect. But to do that, we do have to have interactions consistently with you. So it's not like you're using the system and you never talk to us. We have a client success manager that really talks to your office at least once a month, and sometimes more, depending on the type of features that we're consistently implementing, but just to make sure we constantly understand the workflow in the office that we're talking to.
Right. Yeah. So let's just kind of talk about estate and elder law. So, as an estate and elder law attorney, one of the things that we really understand is that, clients want convenient service on their own timeline. And please know, even when we talk about elder law and estate planning, there is a wide gamut. And in my office does anything from crisis Medicaid. So we're dealing with a husband who's 85 and his wife just went into a nursing home, to we're dealing with a 50-year-old, business owner who is really what we call more wealth protection planning. We're trying to, plan for what happens in the future for them. But these clients all want convenient service. And if you're of the opinion that that 85-year-old isn't going to use his smartphone, I will tell you right now, that's the wrong way to think about this. It really is. So marketing studies show the amount of older people who we can market to on Facebook, and my office uses Facebook all the time. People who have dementia, who are caregivers for their spouse who have dementia, they are there and they're used to it, and they want that convenient service. Now, I'm not saying there couldn't be somebody who would prefer a phone call. I'm just saying those numbers are smaller than what you think. Also, marketing looks different today. And so again, when we think about, somebody who historically went to a seminar, listened to the seminar, signed up for an appointment, and then they were asked to fill out an intake form. They've already committed so much time to you. They're farther along in the buying cycle versus somebody who just got off of Facebook. They raised their hand, they wanted to download something, maybe they've watched some emails. That person isn't as far along, or you could talk about Google, as a marketing. And one of the things that, and I have to admit to everybody, I thought Enrico was wrong about this, but he has proven me wrong. One of the things that we can do is take this digital intake that for that client that's referred to us or goes to a seminar, we have them fill out prior to a first appointment because we want more information about them. But we all have all these phone calls coming in that kind of need to be sold into a first appointment. They come off of Google. They kind of think they want to meet with you enough to even call your office, but somebody has to kind of talk them into it. One of the things that we've learned is that the digital intake can be a great marketing step there. That what it does is it gets people farther along in the buying cycle. So they've engaged with you. And it gets them more likely to say yes to you in a first appointment. And this isn't about a digital intake. Whether you get off of here and do a digital intake or not, you really need to understand that marketing does differ and that we always want engagement. Whether we're sending people emails and we want them to respond to them, somehow that person that's raised their hand and said, hey, I'm interested in Medicaid planning or dementia planning or estate planning. I think I want to do this. One of the ways that we get them to be a client and say yes to us is to have them interact with us, engage with us. Well, the digital intake is a very easy way to do that. So I just personally did a seminar recently, and sometimes the type of seminar I was doing, we get people that we really can't help. We also, and it was a virtual seminar. So instead of, making the offer at the end, call and, make an appointment or, have a half an hour of Julie's time, rather it was fill out this intake form. And people did. And what happens then, they've invested that time and energy into it. And by the time they get to me, they're going to be more ready to say yes. So again, part of today, always we want, even if you decide that you don't want to do this digital intake, I always want you to get value for having been on the call. And I think this is an important thing for all of us to be thinking about how marketing does look different and how we treat people. We don't just shove them in a first appointment. So, if you do evergreen webinars and you right off an evergreen webinar are told that you should just have a phone call with them, you shouldn't. And I can give you stats on that. I can give you tests that I did in my own office. You need a step like this. You need to have them go from the evergreen webinar to the digital intake and then come to you. And I guarantee if you do that, you'll get more yeses in that first appointment. Now, will you get people who don't fill it out? Sure. Those people probably weren't going to say yes to you in a first appointment anyways. Now at our office, somebody, again, the main way we use it as an intake is somebody's made an appointment with me. We then say to them, we need to get more information so Julie can help you the best. Would you like a phone call? Or would you like to fill out our digital intake online? It's mobile friendly. And we will still offer to send somebody a form. Again, Trisha, my paralegal, since December, everybody's like, oh, send me the digital intake. And then what happens? They fill it out and I walk into the appointment and I have all that information, and they've felt like they've engaged with my firm. And so the reality of it is that we, as any business owner, have to adjust to meet the needs and wants of our clients. You know, I think about myself as a client. You know, I'll go back to, you know, the doctor's appointments. I hate filling out those forms. But would I mind doing it online? No, because I could sit anywhere. I could sit at my kids' swim meet, Enrico, and fill that out, right? And that's what we see. We see people who are filling it out Sunday night before their Wednesday appointment. We see people filling it out in the evenings, not during work hours. And so really, really important. And intake might sound like before you got on here, you may not have really thought about intake. I have coached attorneys for years. Intake is essential to your profitability. It is so essential to your profitability. Whether or not that client is ready to say yes to you in a first appointment has less to do with you in that first appointment and more to do with that client experience that got them there than anything else. And so it's really important. So what do you need to do? Well, you really have to automate. And that will increase your profitability at your firm. And we all want that. We all need that. And it's a struggle nowadays with getting staffing that maybe before did some data entry, and now post-COVID, we have to pay more per hour to get somebody who can do that. But even if we do get somebody, some of that data entry has to be proofread. Sometimes it's not going to go as well. We also need to provide different service options that require our counseling, not just the basics. So, what this is about, and everybody should be thinking about this again. When I was just an ACT Tech up in Toronto, one of the things that we really were talking about is how do we get our practices ready for the willsandtrust.com. Now, I already shared with you much more than this intake. I'm also with Enrico have an online system that I think is better because my wills and trusts that they do on my system are mine. They're Pennsylvania specific. They're still going to come in and meet with me. But the other thing that I've done is I've really focused my practice in ways that they need the counselor at law. They really need to be talking, we do dementia planning, we do special needs planning. So we focus our practice in such a way that people, we're not getting the majority of our money from basic estate planning, but very, very important. And then you have to design your intake to serve the clients in the way that they desire. And so really important that we be thinking about this. Okay. I see that we have some questions in the chat, and I apologize. I have a pop-up on my screen that's keeping me from seeing all of them. So I'm going to go on and then we'll stop for those questions. Enrico, are you able to see the questions?
Yes, I see them.
Okay. Why don't you look at those, and I'll stop in a second, and maybe you can man some of those questions and talk about them. So I apologize to you guys that I have a malware update that is blocking my questions right now. Anyways, I'm not the only person across the country. Obviously, Enrico alluded to the fact that he is really beneficial to the firms that he serves because he really learns from all of us and then shares and adds best practices. So even yesterday, Enrico and I were talking, and he's like showing me something he's doing for another attorney, and I'm like, oh, I want that, and I know one of the questions I can kind of see, is about, a monthly subscription. I do have a monthly subscription with Enrico, and that enables me to get updates on all my systems and continue to progress, because as I've done the intake system, I now want a different intake system for my estate administration. I even want not just an intake system, but after somebody signs on and says yes, I want them to be able to fill out another form. I'm all in on automation. Today, you don't have to be all in on automation. In fact, quite honestly, Enrico has made this offer, which is a simple offer to you to kind of get started and to see how it can work for you. And it's something that pays off really quickly. Some of the other things like Tiff O'Connell and I did, she has an entire system that she thinks is brilliant. It's helped from the client's perspective because of ease of use, and it reduces time and effort. But just so you know, if you're doing like that whole online will system that I talked about, that takes a little bit of your, well, it takes a good amount of your commitment and time. The intake system is something that, as we're talking about it, it's so easy for people to really test it and see how it works for them. So Enrico, do you want to talk about the questions that are there?
Yes, let me go through them. I'm going to repeat them.
Okay.
Lauren is asking if it integrates with Action Step. We're actually in process of integrating with Action Step, Lauren. So, I mean, I've started it, but we haven't had all our clients that want it, so I haven't made it part of the product. But we could follow up and talk about that if your firm wants it as well. And then Chanda says the first question is, I see LegalGen has a monthly subscription charge. Is the setup of a firm system included in that monthly charge or a separate fee? So we have multiple products, as Julie alluded to earlier. The digital intake is a quick to go live product, as I like to call it. Onboarding is very simple, very quick, but we still very often cater it or customize it. So there is a service online onboarding fee that we have. But as part of this webinar, and we're going to talk about the pricing, and we're waiving that so that it's a very quick and just a monthly fee that, if you were to sign up today, that's waived. Then can an intake can involve confidential or sensitive data? How will my client's data be protected to the use of LegalGen? Well, we're very sensitive to security nowadays. It's high encryption database, but it's pretty standard. It's a SQL database that we have, not to get too technical, but security is not just the system. It's also a lot about the security that you implement, like password protection. And if you want that, and I say password protection, I mean that we can say, hey, you need to add a character, and what you see every day online. The intake specifically, though, that is, you go through that as part of a form, like with a bank. Like, it's not saved until you save it, and then once you save it, it's within our database and the admin portal where it's fully manageable. And then you're comparing it to LegalGen or Clio Grow. How does LegalGen surprise Clio's product? I've seen Clio's product in detail. Clio is really a system that caters specifically to all practices, all attorneys. It's a large system. This is, we're much different. We try to accomplish, partner with our clients. The intake itself is really just a starter because it is fully integrated with the online questionnaire. As Julie mentioned, it has an admin portal that's yours. You can make changes anytime you want. Very easy, very simple. Like you go in there and change the language and the education, that portion that I was talked about. I mean, Julie actually has videos that she uses that we just put on there that her team has created. So those are the unique aspects that I feel like we're developing over time. But most importantly, like we said a couple of times, we are growing this product and with our clients. So all our clients' input and feedback that we get directly catered in the elder law and estate planning space is what's going to set us apart from your more canned standardized systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just comment on the Clio Grow. That is definitely something that you would want to meet with Enrico about and kind of go over the differences of it. But what I would say is that this is much more specific to your firm and elder law and estate planning. And not that Enrico can't do other things, but we have a group of elder law and estate planning attorneys who are sharing information and really making this better and more usable. And so from my perspective, and please know there's no disrespect to Clio at all. But if I were you, I'd want to delve into that farther. So automation and profitability. Automation certainly reduces our need for staffing. It saves on data entry and quality control. And I don't think that's changing. Just so you know, like I don't think that suddenly it's going to be easier to get staff who do that. Quite honestly, what we know from the statistics is that any staff person only stays someplace about 2 years. And so when you have anything that can be automated, even if I had a good staff person, they're likely to leave, or they're likely to want a different position. And so we really want to try to, as much as possible, reduce the need for this type of an intake. Because remember, what used to happen at my office is somebody had a phone call and they had to write it down and type it into the system. Or even if we filled out a form, somehow that could have been typed in, or it could just be handwritten, but we'd have to get it into our system. Now with LegalGen, we already have it in our system. And I love the question about Action Step, but it also integrates with other types of things, so that you can gather that data out of it and use it, in different manners, in different ways. And so I think that's important. And I thought I would be remiss not to, point out that intake automation isn't just what we're talking about here. I mean, obviously, they say that this is the year that, or last year was the year that people heard of AI, and this is the year that it's going to become part of their everyday lives. And for many of us, it's already part of our everyday lives in ways that we don't even understand or know. And obviously, in the practice of law, there's always, with technology, there's always some people who are like really excited about it, and other people are like, oh no. There may not be older people in here, but I know I was old enough that, there was the argument of you had to look stuff up in the books and not use, LexisNexis, because that LexisNexis could never do it. But I would just like to say to you, as far as AI goes, all of us should have right now a policy with our staff, as far as they're not being able to use AI unless they are, maybe for marketing, but our staff should not be using AI unless it's something that we know. Maybe for some of us in some states, we might use Microsoft Copilot, because that we can put information into it. It doesn't go out into, the great AI database. And so that's something, for me, I do use the meeting notes. I was on a meeting this morning and I used the Zoom companion with a meeting notes that was really something that had nothing to do with my clients. It just had to do with some organizing and planning that we were doing in our office. So I think it's hard, particularly if you're from a smaller firm, to really know how all of this works together. But in most every state, the ethics say that we as attorneys have to understand and know about technology. Something goes wrong, we can't say we didn't know. And for me, that's one of the reasons that it's really important for me to partner with people like Enrico, because I can talk to him directly, or I can talk to somebody on his staff that I know understands what is important to me, and is really helping me along the way to learn, to make sure that, there's already been a question on here, about the confidentiality and the safety of that. And that, to be honest with you, is not something I feel with some of the bigger companies that are out there. I don't know what I would say, willy-nilly with your data. So I think for me that's really important, that I have a partner that is willing to talk to me about what my needs are, and help me understand how that can be done with technology. So at our office, just, our traditional workflow, our traditional intake, again, somebody calls, and we set the appointment. We ask like 8 questions. We set the appointment. And then we'll say to that person, in order for Julie to understand or to help you the best at that appointment, what we had historically done for many years is we did a phone call. We would call them back. We used to call it a triage, and we gather a whole bunch of information. That was really important to the way that we did business, because it helped start that relationship with that client. They had a good experience. And they were kind of ready to say yes to me in that first appointment. And I have to be honest with you, one of the reasons I was concerned about doing the digital intake is I thought, that's part of our client experience. And it was. for 20 years and it worked great. But what I had to understand is that today people don't want that phone call. They don't want it. And I don't mean 100% of the people, but many of them don't. I wouldn't want that phone call about my mom's situation. You also could mail a form that needs to be printed, or an email that needs to be printed and scanned back. Again, I think there's a better way. So with the digital intake, they can fill that out wherever they are. They can do it on their phone. And the nicest thing about it, from my perspective, is it responds to their answers. So it's not just this big glob that kind of overwhelms people that like, oh, I have to fill this out. You'll see that, if, ask, do you have real estate? If they have real estate, there's a drop down that hasn't put in their real estate. They don't have real estate, it moves on to the next thing. And I think that that is really important, and is the key reason that people do this. Because the first thing I hear from people is, well, do they actually fill it out? Yes, they actually fill it out. Now, we do follow up with people if they haven't filled it out, but they will fill it out. And it's not unusual if they won't fill it out until right before the appointment, but that's okay with me. I need it prior to them getting there. And I like the fact that many of them fill it out on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. And we all know that. We all kind of get caught up, right? Another firm that has used Enrico Fadley Law talks about how much of a time saver LegalGen is. Very user friendly and easy to use for both the staff and clients. They indicate that working with LegalGen has been a pleasure, able to integrate our unique requirements to the application, enabling us to provide a seamless platform to our clients. And so I think, for LegalGen, this is a customizable option that fits into your system. Now, at this point in time, what Enrico's offering today is really, you don't have to customize it. It's really, here's an intake for elder law and estate planning attorneys that has been shown to work. And that's part of the benefit you get with LegalGen, because they're working with elder law and estate planning firms across the nation. They're seeing what works. Enrico's in my system. He sees how many times we have an intake filled out. My firm's larger, but what we were seeing, 5 and 6 a day at my firm being filled out for various reasons. And so that's amazing. And don't forget the money that saves. So even if you're a firm that maybe it's 2 a week, and that keeps your staff person from having to do that phone call and enter some of that data, what is that? Is that $30 an hour? Is that, times 2 is 60 times 4.3 is, $200 a month that you're saving. It's amazing to me. It's allowed my firm to grow and not add more intake people. I can tell you the intake people that we've added in the last year, even though we're growing, are replacing people who have left. So that's a huge money saver for me. And what, the systems are going to continue to grow. Like if you're looking for kind of an out of the box, never have to use it, you can have that. But I would say that automation technology is continuing to grow. There continues to be better ways to do things. And we want to, jump onto that. For me, that's actually kind of, getting down and having different intakes for different practice areas. As I explained, we've been working on one for estate administration. Why? Because I really think I can save a lot of time there. I think I can have the intake, but then also after the first appointment, all that information that you have to gather, names of beneficiaries and heirs and all kinds of stuff, we can have them do that on an intake. And so I think that's important. Plus the marketing engagement, a way to, without paying anything extra, having any extra step, a way to get people to engage with you in their marketing. So key intake, we want to identify the pain points and work together as a solution. We did at our office, SGY, Steinbacher, Goodall, and Yurchek, identified the intake process as costly and failed to ensure information accuracy. So now we offer all 3 of these options. But at least for some of the staff here, I didn't talk to every one of my staff, but my own paralegal said, yeah, this is what people want to do. They want to do this intake. So if you're looking ahead, we want to position your firm for the future of what professional services are going to be, and work with LegalGen to integrate your process. Automation, AI, the client experience. The reality of it is the world is changing. We have to adapt to it in order to stay competitive and profitable. So what we've discovered here today, we've kind of talked about that automation really is the key. Staff profitability is complex. That's my nice word for it. But it's not getting any easier. People don't stay. We need to spend more money for jobs that would have been typically more data entry. And we really do need to meet our clients' needs from anywhere, not just in the office. And we don't have to have a phone call with them from 9 to 5 moving forward. So, Enrico and I hope you get this one thing. Automation will save you time and money, and it's what the clients and staff want. And that, you guys, I know it's one sentence, but that really is the crux of this. This saves my office money. It's what my clients want. It's what my staff wants. And it's that combination that makes this so easily successful. Because please know, lots of change at my office my staff doesn't want, and it takes me a while to get them to do it. But this is something my staff wanted. Why? Because it saved them time. And so they jumped right in and adopted it. Just so important. So this is the template. This is what it looks like, your digital intake. So if somebody sent somebody a link, they could come to a page that looks like this. This is my digital intake. This is a shot of my digital intake. This is exactly what it looks like on your phone. And as you'll see here, it's so easy to use. It is so mobile friendly. I don't have the stats, and I don't even know if Enrico knows how many people do the mobile versus doing it on their computer. But I would say to you, the mobile was so important to me. And I've had clients in offices report to me how nice it was to be able to do it on their phone so easily. And so I think that's really important. Enrico alluded to this, that you can personalize your intake. So you'll see, for some, there's could be information about why this information is important. You can add videos. But this is, kind of what it looks like. You'll see at the top there, the 20%, that means people are 20% done. The screens are really easy to navigate, next, previous, as they move through those. Again, flipping back to what does this look like on your phone? I talked about this, do you own real estate? If I click yes, then this pops up. If I clicked no, this wouldn't be there. Do you have an application, do you or the applicant have a mortgage? Yes or no? And then we're just clicking next and previous. And Rick, I don't know if you want to comment on that. Obviously, I'm just going on and on about how much I love how intuitive it is, but if you want to comment on why you did it that way or what led you to that.
Yes. So this exactly what, is here on your phone. Is to make it simple. It's simplicity, right? That's what we've tried to design. But whilst it's simple, it's got to be conditional. It's got to be, like you said, if you don't select real estate, then it doesn't come up. So for the user, you go through it very quickly. They have a good experience, and they'll want to finish. That's the key part. If you compare this to what you were saying, an online form or a PDF document, if you go through it, it's almost like it's overwhelming with all the questions. So that's what we try to solve here, from a from a user interface perspective. And it's still, the questions, just to kind of highlight the questions and the headings. Those are the items that the office has the ability to change that on their own if they go into what I'm calling the admin portal. That's what gives this the nice and feel that it's the system that you're changing. So any language that you see, some of the questions and things is when you get into when you get into more of we'll have to talk about it from a design if you don't have specific questions that you want to remove. But I just wanted to highlight that when we're looking at this, and this is your application, as you mentioned, we took your document and then got your input and replicated that into the digital intake.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had a few questions. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead with the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, we take a quick break on the questions. So Chanda also asked about where would my client data live on LegalGen servers are going to be dropped into Clio Manage. And then Lauren asked, will it integrate with Wealth Counsel? So those are all integrations, and integrations, they get easier and easier and easier. I mean, any system that you have, if you wanted to integrate, you should be able to. Sometimes I used to say I'm limited based on the systems. And there are some systems, I think like case management or something, that for one particular reason that they don't make it easy. But Clio, Wealth Counsel, we actually have some clients that are integrated with Wealth Counsel, but already. But then it's also, what do you integrate as far as how much? Because we don't actually integrate the documents, but all the data we can. And from a digital intake perspective, that's the case as well. And then Lauren, is your intake different from Medicaid, crisis, or estate planning? In the previous screen on the mobile app that Julie showed, you could see that she has, the first screen has like 5 options. And those are the conditional options as well right here. And they all have a little different workflow, that has been developed, that could have different questions, I should say. But that's also the intake system that has been built, that we could just replicate that for elder law. And the expectation is that to start using this before we add improvements specific to your office, it should be very, very quick, based on everything that Julie is showing us here. And then the last question is, can you download the form or use in the office? Yes, absolutely. The admin portal gives you full ability to download, view it, and actually it's also digital, or you can download it as a PDF. So all those options are there.
Yeah, and for my staff, they love it because they download the form and then they have the start of the asset list. Now, Enrico, I almost hate to tell you that I still have my staff printed out so I can take it in the conference room with me and write on it. But I'm working on not wasting that paper. Yeah. So we even have, in this situation, this is showing you the screens kind of look the same for our online system where people are building their own powers of attorneys and wills. Again, farther than the digital intake that we're talking about today. But Enrico's really excited to offer to you this limited offer for the next 24 hours. There's usually a $500 implementation fee for people who sign up for this, and that is going to be waived. Also, to have the digital intake is typically $275 a month, but he's willing to offer it for $175 a month. Plus, for all of the new users, we will have a bonus webinar where we get on together and talk about the use and how we deal with it, and talk about how we use it within our practices. So, I alluded to today how I use it for marketing. I alluded to, we use it sometimes after an evergreen webinar as kind of the next step to kind of get people through. So talking about more, how do you actually, I will be leading that conversation. How do we actually get the most out of it moving forward? So to make it happen, you can click the link. There should be a link coming up on your screen. Yeah, there it is. You can click that black link, or you can just scan the QR code with your phone. Either way will work. If you click that digital intake, it will take you to an intake sheet itself that really goes back over this and explains to you your option. For those of you who aren't members of the $1 Million Solution, we're also adding 90 days of silver membership for free, and that's over a $300 value. This allows you to get actual resources to grow your firm and test drive our elder law and estate planning network throughout the country, really absorb information from a top tier attorneys. So we're adding that as a double bonus today for you. So again, if you're interested and you want to learn more, click on the black bar that says digital intake, or you will bring up the QR code again. So Enrico's process is to get you up and running in 30 days or less. Let you have a seamless transition from your existing intake. So whatever you're doing today, he's going to want to know about that and make sure that this accounts for it. They have a personal portal, so it allows you to manage that data effectively, and that's what we're talking about. There is a back end to this, if you will, where you can go gather the information and the data. You get real-time notifications, immediate updates. One of the things I love, we didn't even go over this, Enrico, but one of the things I love is when the clients have submitted it, they get a nice email back that looks like it comes from our firm, just thanking them for taking the time of doing that. Plus, we get emails that people have done that. So again, if you're interested, click on the code on the screen, the black button, or scan the QR code with your phone, and that will take you to the same landing page. We're offering this for just $175 a month to streamline your practice. A bonus webinar for all new users, and free silver membership for 90 days in the $1 Million Solution. Enrico, any parting thoughts for everybody?
Yeah. So, the offering today is to make it simple. I mean, if you click, you'll get to a little intake sign up screen specifically as part of the webinar. But what I want to highlight is, we do call this a subscription, but I'm waiving the fee if you sign up now, because it's important to get a very low cost partnership that we can start, without having us think about it, so that we can meet, talk, go through it, and then you'll understand the details. So the process is going to be that as soon as you've signed up, I'll schedule a kickoff call, I'll ask some questions, and then we'll put up a system within the following week. And really the expectation is, and I'll hold my team and myself accountable to have a system that you'll have up and running within 1 month, within 30 days, and at the most 4 meetings, and potentially less, which is the initial system that we'll get, that we'll focus on. So just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, and I know Lauren's asking if we can download the form for use in the office. Absolutely. In fact, we do that. And we are really working to make that form look even better. And that's something Enrico's, helping us to do. And that is a fantastic thing, because it's really something that the clients are pretty impressed about, as if we took a lot of time, but all we did was download the form that Enrico gave us, and we're able to show them, okay, so this and this, and here's this. So really important. And I would say to you too, as part of that ongoing subscription, that monthly fee, we're able to talk to Enrico and have changes made. And I think that that's important as you move forward.
Yeah,
All
Julie,
right. Well, go ahead.
So really quick, because that is the last point that you mentioned with the client success managers. The idea is that we are able to provide constant value and improve the systems with anyone that is signed up, whether it's the digital intake, the online questionnaires, online wills or trusts. But that is that we grow as a company, but with all the clients. We don't have thousands of clients, but the ones that we have, and this culture will never change, is that it's very, hands-on, understanding your business, your practice, and then we could make the improvements. Like you said, that the form that you could walk in your office and also look at your phone and have a nice summary with some totals, and so that I know that that's valuable, that we're going to implement and develop that as well as an option. So.
Yeah, and Enrico, that's one of the things that I love about you, because you're always making it better.
So.
And I know that we have one more question that I can't see.
It says, can we receive the individual client data in a spreadsheet format so pieces of data can be easily copied or used while I'm drafting documents? Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually we've done that for one client in Texas, that they get it in a particular format, a CSV file, and they can then upload it to their different systems as well. So that wouldn't be something that is going to be a challenge because we've already done it.
Yeah, it's funny, Enrico, you're so confident in your tech that you're not even techie. It's like, oh, we can do that. What I can say again about Enrico is that in working with him, like some of what the questions you ask as far as the systems that are out there, some are not open to working with other things. If your system is the type of system you use, Enrico can figure it out. And so I think that's important for us to understand. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I wish everybody the best. Any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Enrico or I. Those of you, again, I'll just tell you, click the black button for the digital intake. You will not regret it. You will have a better intake system. And I'm happy to work with anybody, help talk about your intake system. I'm available if you're like, oh, Julia, we don't even know about an intake system, before you jump in, certainly sign up with Enrico, and I'm happy to give some time to kind of talk to you about the why of my intake system and how it works. Yeah. All right, everybody, have a good day.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And Lauren, I'll call you after too.